Hello and welcome to Out of India Theory. We have another special episode today. My guest for today's podcast is a German independent researcher, speaker, and author, Harald Kautz. Harald, thank you so much for joining us. I hope I'm pronouncing your name right.
Madame Weller got divorced a couple of years ago, so I'm back to Kautz.
Okay, so I'll probably stick to Harald.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, so thank you so much for joining. And I had to spend a little bit of time in figuring out how to introduce Harald, because when I started looking into his work a little while ago, I kind of got pulled into this rabbit hole of so many radical new ideas, like the black goo, Morgellons disease and how nanotechnology might be behind it, the whole war and consciousness and what's going on with humanity right now. So there's like a whole basket of ideas and things. It's almost like he's crafted this unified theory which explains a whole lot of different things that is happening to humanity right now, and you can infer so many different things from it. But if I have to introduce the basic principle of what Harald is saying, and please correct me if I'm wrong, is that this idea that there is this hidden, covert, almost parasitic technological system, possibly of non-human origin, which is influencing human biology and consciousness on the planet for its own ends. And humanity is fighting quite unawares that there is this thing is happening to them. And then as more and more people wake up and realize, and there is this kind of war on consciousness that is being waged, so we get to see what's actually happening and how to counter it and so on. And central to this idea is this concept called the black goo. And I would like to begin the conversation with a quick introduction to people who don't know what that is and what he means by it. And then from there we'll carry on and address the other ideas that he's talking about and why he says this, where is the evidence for this, and how he backs this up with research. So Harald, I hope that was a reasonably good introduction to what you are actually saying.
Yeah. Maybe I can take it by the evidence in which it came to me, because sometimes in my life things develop in funny ways. It's like something is directing me or talking to me or trying to show me something I'm supposed to understand. And the topic of black goo introduced itself just by an invitation by a friend who said, I discovered an incredible documentary film about the Falkland War and the true reason behind the Falkland War. And he insisted on me coming to visit him in Berlin just to show me this movie. I didn't really get the urgency behind it, but I did him the favor. I watched the movie. It was kind of interesting, saying that one of the islands in the southern archipelago, the island south of Falkland, has a deposit of a sentient black oil liquid thing, and that the entire war was about securing the resources of those oil qualities. And it sounded like, okay, fringe, interesting, not important.
Right.
I just said, okay, this is it. And then at that time I was in Morgellon research, and I tried to kind of find where it started. Is this medieval witchery? Is this technological crap coming from World War II German bioweapon labs? And I was following this bioweapon thing, and I met with the researchers who go into the Nazi underground facilities to see what actually the German evil side of the game was working on. And I met them just to get intel on Morgellons. And he took out kind of cases, and he started to put black stones on the table, and he said, well, we managed to extract the oil from those black stones, and he showed me an example, and the oil was alive. It kind of was forming a crystal,
Right.
shaped like an insect eye, and he had two of those samples, and the moment they got close to each other, they turned, stared at each other's, and the one tried to escape from the bucket by violently
Right.
pushing against the wall, cracking it. It was
Right.
such an urge to unite as a probe. And I said, okay, this is creepy. I think this is black goo, because it just looked like, from the description of that documentary film. And he didn't even have a clue what he had. He just
And
said...
just to interrupt you there, I'm sorry, where was this? Which
This was
location?
somewhere we met in Salzburg, but
Okay.
I don't know where the underground facility is.
Okay.
They keep things secret. They don't want to have company down there. So...
And just to let our viewers know who may not be aware, Morgellons is this disease that people find like itchy skin for no reason. Well, according to modern science, it's kind of idiopathic and doesn't officially exist. It's kind of delusional parasitosis. But then you claim like there is consensus among some people that it has a different origin and reason. Right?
Yeah. It shows with itchy skin. You start to scratch. It opens. It's getting bloody, and then you have all sorts of colored fibers sticking in the wound, and the doctors say, "Yeah, this must be from your shirt. You've been scratching and putting the fibers in." But if you really have a look at it, the fiber grow out of the body. Fibers come out, and it's a when you go into real research, is a silica-based fungus. It is having the mycelium growing through the flesh and through the bones and everywhere. And when they build fruiting bodies, normally you have the fruiting bodies either under the skin, this is what makes it itchy, then you scratch them out, or they grow in the stomach, intestinal, or with the women at other places that are even more discomforting. And the fruiting bodies have the shape of embryos.
Okay.
The morphogenesis is based on human genetics. You find these concepts. It's some fungi have the ability to host secondary genetic clusters to find the form for the fruiting body. Like you have a fungus that is eating a broccoli, and when he's creating a fruiting body, the fruiting body takes the shape of the broccoli because it's utilizing the alien genetic cluster. And in that way, kind of this biology functions.
Right.
And you have high infection rates, really high infection rates, but normally it's asymptomatic.
Okay.
Just with a few people, you have an overgrowth of the fungus.
Okay.
And this is what I was researching back then. Why do you have overgrowth? What is the common denominator with all the patients who really suffer badly? And it's a messed up liver. And many of them actually had experience with black magic rituals. These are kind of the two common denominators. Messed up biology and messed up spirituality. And if they intertwine, you get funny things to observe.
Right.
And that was what I was actually researching. And then the guy came up with this suitcase of black rocks and the liquids extracted, and he didn't know what it is.
Right.
And I introduced him into the idea that it could be black goo. And subjectively, something hit me in that room. It was as if my character was going cold and evil. I stopped feeling. I was completely cold. I got aggressive. I was not granted to rent a hotel room. They said we're fully booked, and I said, it's I can sleep in the car, but can I at least have a shower in the morning to warm up again? It was -3 degrees, no heating in the van, so.
Yeah.
And then I got into a fight with the hotel manager. I almost killed her. I really had to hold myself back, and I said, this is not me. What's happening here?
And all this just by being in the presence of that.
Yes, just by it. Instantly when you opened the suitcase, it hit me. I could feel the tingling in every cell of my body, and I turned cold. And then kind of I realized in this shape I don't want to see my family. I don't want
Right.
my kids to see me in that state. So I was on the road, and I was cooperating with an institute that is into radionics. So I said, please give me one of those stupid rocks. I need to create some form of counter venom, to
Like an
get this
anti-venom
an
thing.
anti-venom, an antidote to this signature that hit me. And we did something with the radionic tools we had in our labs down there. And I took this remedy, and then a weird process started. That, like, as if something was pushing into my body from the feet, from the ground, reconquering cell by cell from that dark, cold presence. And it got stuck somewhere here, kind of entering the head was more, it took like 3 hours to get through the throat, and then whoosh, it rushed up. And in that moment, as a astral experience, there was a huge black whale coming out of diving through my body, ringing every single DNA, ringing welcome. And there was this really beautiful, soft voice of Mother Earth welcoming me back. Like
Right.
a child that was gone for eons and
Yeah.
finally made it home. And the coldness was gone.
This was after consuming the antidote that you prepared.
Yes.
After
yes,
studying the rock.
Yes. Process took like 8 hours.
Right.
And we made it available, the antidote. And it turned out that when you take it, it's like addressing all entanglements
Right.
with the dark realm. If someone had a previous life, even previous lifetime experience. I remember one woman, she just took the pipe with the globulins in her fingers, and she instantly fainted. I had to jump in and pick her up in the middle of the air, and then she came back to senses, and she asked what happened, and her higher self allowed me to see the perspectives that made her faint, and I could see her being in a medieval town in Belgium at night, going from window to window, stealing babies out of the flats for blood sacrifice. And she couldn't take that. She instantly got access to that memory, and she said, I don't accept this being me, and fainted. And this is kind of the way it works, depending on how you're entangled with evil.
Right.
It highlights the connection and gives you the opportunity to heal it, to bring it into full consciousness.
It's like an unveiling of what's there, and then
the
whatever you
antidote.
say is just a reflection of what you have been.
Yes.
Interesting. I have so many questions. Sorry, go ahead. Sorry.
But before we go deeper, it's important to understand what duality actually is, because when you go into the history of those black stones, you make research where did we have our first encounter with this type of stone. You come back actually to the origin of world religions, like with Islam. There was meteorites coming down from space, and people started to telepathically communicate with those stones. One of them is in the Kaaba in Mecca, the cornerstone.
Right.
And what does the stone do? It says, giving blood and fire sacrifice. I will give you worldly power. I will make you superior over the neighboring tribe. And but I demand blood sacrifice. So who demands blood sacrifice? Someone that is not connected to source, that has no energy supply from the divine grid.
Right.
So he needs someone else to die to recharge the life force.
Right. Like a vampire.
Yeah, like a vampire, energetic vampire. And the other black that appeared in my life, this was like I got more samples from meteorite sites. A friend of mine was in Paraguay, and there's an enclosed military sealed area where he sneaked in, and there's this crash site of a meteorite, and he brought me samples of the same black stone from Paraguay. So it seems to be all over the place. But also I had magical encounters, like visiting an alchemist in Modena in Italy. I wanted to do something else with him. It was not related. And he said, "Oh, I'm so sorry, I've got a friend. She's insisting to come to visit. I don't know why, but she insists it needs to be today. I would really like to share the time with you, but this lady, she's not giving me a break." And keeps terrorizing me on the phone, and she wants to come. And then I said, "It's okay if she wants to come, let her come. Who knows what it's good for,
Yeah.
And she said, when I was a young lady, I was studying Orientalistics, and I was in the Himalaya, invited into the libraries of the Tibetan monasteries, and
Right.
one of the monks gave me a sample of a black liquid. And I kept that sample in my home till today, and it was like whenever I left the flat, it was like someone was breaking in, trying to find that sample to steal it from me, but it managed to hide itself. So till today, and this morning I got the insight, I need to visit this alchemist, and I need to give a share of this probe to the man whom I find. He just knew.
Right.
And it's black goo by physical properties, but the consciousness inside is the loving Mother Earth. So you kind of just scientifically make your equations. There is something coming from inner Earth connected to crude oil in many cases, and this is like the liquid brain of our planet, and then you have a different liquid brain coming also from some form of planet that hits down encapsulated in meteorite material, and one is making you cruel and evil and bloodthirsty, and the other one is bathing you in harmony and unity consciousness, and both kind of address our civilization in one or the other way, which is at the end of the day what we call duality. Being captured in between the influence of a loving consciousness, collective consciousness, and one that is doing funny things like turning us evil in our experience of being evil and leading us onto a path that demands technology, highly developed technological civilization that eventually self-destroy. The end of the game is like us being on our secret space program fleet, leaving behind the completely destroyed biosphere, swarming into open space and carrying our knowledge and our concept of self-destruction to other planets.
So it's like seeding other places in the cosmos.
Yes, it's like the Borg in the mythological universe of Hollywood.
Just to go back a little bit, you mentioned that once you got this stone from your friend, that you took it back to your lab, and then you used radionics to come up with a solution. So I'm curious, maybe you could quickly tell us, what is your background actually, and how are you able to do that? Do you have a chemistry? I mean, obviously, I think you have a chemistry background, but then you have a lab, or
I've got a wild background. I started at university with mineralogy, geology. This is why I can relate to oil topics and meteorite topics, kind of identifying a meteorite crash site by the crack patterns in the neighboring stone, whatever. Then I shifted to media science, because I have the feeling the natural science doesn't contain any emotional livelihood. So I was emotionally starving at university, and I said I want to do something else, so I just took a formal education to become a journalist, and then I realized, we've got censorship all over the place, and you can't even write what you think in this stupid country. And then I wanted to find the gap where there's no censorship, and studied media science to understand the media business. That was kind of the education part. And then I worked in the film industry for a couple of years. And then with a film project, I came across the free energy research in Europe, and started to just visit researchers in their garages or labs or whatever, and interconnect the dots. I was coming from the journalist end, so they didn't fear that I could steal their ideas, so they were all kind of open.
Right.
And I learned what's possible beyond the written laws of physics, just by seeing devices run that are not supposed to run. And then, because I had studied physics for 2 years,
Right.
I had the ability kind of to rewrite to adjust the formulations to understand how is this possible. I see it, so it must be real,
Right.
but how do I need to adjust the formula? And I managed kind of to go back to Maxwell with the primary equations written in a formulation that includes longitudinal and scalar field physics.
Okay.
And with this knowledge, you can describe this type of machinery. So over the years, I became an expert for the free energy research in the formulation of the field equations and understanding why devices work. Because sometimes it's a coincidence that they discover something working and they don't even themselves know why it works.
Right.
So I was doing that for like 10 years and realized you always have a spiritual side effect to this type of field physics. Yeah, you can open portals and invite dark entities in, and then the inventor goes mad. And sometimes it's supporting life, sometimes it's destroying health, depending on the frequencies you use. So I realized, okay, before you really put effort into free energy research, you need to understand the spiritual component of these fringe field physics. So that was kind of when I swapped over. I was in Norway working for a company supplying things to electrosensitive people.
Okay.
And the solutions you find there are from this fringe field of building passive antennas that absorb the non-healthy aspect of EMF radiation. Yeah,
Okay.
And shield it from the body. This was kind of the type of research I was doing. And there I came across environmental monitoring related to the chemtrail topic. And this is where we discovered kind of that what's coming down with the rain from the sky is actually by patents transhumanist technology. It's not designed for weather modification. It's partly designed for military purposes like 3D radio monitoring. This is one aspect, but the main aspect, just by the quality of the crystals you find, you get a descriptor like barium, strontium, titanate dotted with europium, and if you have the terminology from the analysis, you can see who is holding the stupid patent for the substance. And this is where you can root it back to the field of research where it has been developed. And this is transhumanism. This is building interfaces to connect human consciousness to technological intelligence.
Right. And a lot of this research must be hiding behind paywalls, because with private contractors and the deep state and the military industrial complex, I suppose, where normal people cannot access it.
The normal state universities are not dealing with it. Like in Germany, we have 3 universities who are open to those topics. It's Max Planck, Forschungszentrum Karlsruhe, and the third one, Fraunhofer Institute.
Okay.
Yeah, these are the 3 who have the license to research fringe topics. And I kept meeting people, with garage laboratories developing as a private inventor, and then they, at some point, were all contacted by state authorities and got an offer they couldn't refuse. And then they disappeared into those research facilities and were never seen again. Yeah, this is how it works.
Okay. Right. And then when you found the solution to this, it was using your knowledge and experience in all these fields, and then you made an antidote for that.
It was an institute. I started to cooperate because from the transhumanism topic, I sneaked into Morgellons research. I was addressed by patients who said, sorry, I'm committing suicide tomorrow if nobody helps me. Typical victim mentality, by the way, but I was tempted to help. So I just was scanning the medical environment in Germany to find someone who was willing to invest into finding solutions for the Morgellons disease. And this is where I ended up. It was kind of the first institute that could deliver solutions to reverse the Morgellon condition. And they work mostly with radionic. In the analysis with dark field microscopy, and in the solution with food supplements and radionics, kind of giving a blueprint how to repair, giving the material to repair, and then you have solutions. And this is what worked. So I realized, okay, they have the machinery, they have the development environment. If I come with a nosode, like a stone with black goo, we can pull down the signature and start to play with a signature to create an antidote. They had the knowledge. It was not me. I just cooperated with them in the sense of I'm defining the problem and they're creating a solution.
And the antidote was like a pill or a spray?
Globally, like homeopathy, just not with shaking, amplifying by shaking, diluting. It's done with the magnetic device definition of the signature.
And then I want to quickly jump back to this duality that you spoke of, the native and loving and nourishing earth goo versus the alien goo. I was wondering, are these qualities, of course from a human perspective, depending on how we are affected, one is evil and the other is nourishing, but then is that an intrinsic quality of the material itself, do you think? Or let's say, for example, tomorrow there's a meteorite striking Earth and it explodes into pieces. And there are pieces of Earth's rocks containing Earth's black goo going into another alien system. And then there, because they need nourishment, they do the same thing to the inhabitants of the other planet. So it depends, is it the inherent nature of this goo, or is it just a role play that they do depending on how they need to seek nourishment?
The goo itself is just a physical body. It can be exchanged by spirit. If I take a piece of alien black goo and explicitly communicate with Mother Earth spirit and ask her, could you please assimilate this piece of goo? And if she puts attention and intention into assimilating it, she can drive out the satanic spirit and reconquer the material. So it is not different not very different in physical composition. It's both composed of fullerene and fulvic acids and monoatomic elements and carbon structures like carbon nanotubes. This is kind of what you need to host collective consciousness in a material substance.
Yeah, that's very interesting. I don't know, have you heard of this thing called Shilajit?
It's related. It's not identical. It's related.
Okay. Because when I was reading about the black goo and how it is found naturally on Earth as well, the first thing that came to my mind was Shilajit, which I'm sure most of the people who are listening from India know what it is. But then for those who don't, it's this, you can call it mineral oil or this black resin or tar that people find on some mountain ranges, especially the Himalayas, Tibet and Nepal, India region. Or I read that it's also in the Caucasus and the Altai mountains. There are these, you can scrape it off the wall. It's a mineral composition, which is I think 80% fulvic acid and a bunch of other minerals and stuff, which people consume in traditional native medicine and Ayurveda and Chinese medicine as an energy boosting supplement.
Actually, we managed to replicate, or that wouldn't be honest. I was working for a time for a company who had a technological process that was producing oil out of water.
Right.
with the same physical principles that I suspect are active in the production of black goo inside our planet. Because what you need to do, you need water that is enriched with minerals and saturated with CO2, carbon dioxide. And then you put this water under pressure, have certain vortical flow patterns that are important to prepare it for the process. And then you have a pressure release. And in the pressure release, you create cavitation fields. It's like nanobubbles of vacuum opening up and imploding again. And with the implosion of the nanobubbles, you get like perfect vortical jet streams that heat up to 60,000 degrees, get speeds of 3,600 meters per second. And this is a four-dimensional process. And in this four-dimensional process, some of the hydrogen in the water is shifted, dimensionally shifted to turn into carbon. And then this carbon starts forming different shapes of carbon structures like oils or fulvic acids or fullerenes or whatever. So it's like a self-organizing motion pattern that up-concentrates scalar energy in amounts that shift hydrogen to carbon, that shift carbon to silica, that shift silica to gold. It's an alchemistic process. It is higher dimensional. And this is what's happening in the upstreaming water underground when you have the pressure relief after a natural valve in a vein. And you can replicate that in the lab and you produce all those things in the lab. This is why we know how it functions. It was a different purpose. They just wanted to create diesel for trucks in a cheaper way than buying it from the Arabs. So it was non-spiritual, but it was a good opportunity to learn how physics works. And what I suspect with the mumio-shilayit is that you have this process in the water. And if you go to the end of it, you create this oily phase in the upstreaming water, then it up concentrates to abiotic oil. And then you get like deposits of abiotic oil, and from this abiotic oil the black goo assembles itself because it has all the components, and the consciousness can build a living body around the planetary consciousness. And it's like the incarnation process of a planetary spirit from a four-dimensional realm. And what you have with the shilayit is that in a very early stage, when the water is still mixed with tiny portions of all sorts of oily fragments, this is soaked up by the stone, filtered by the stone, and the tiny components like the fulvic acids migrate through the stones. And just in case this water ends up on the surface of a cave that has open access to dry, then the water evaporates from the wall, and you have more and more and more of this oily phase on the surface of the cave. So it is like a filtering product of an early stage of black goo creation. This is why so it's like similar.
Like a continual deposit of layer after layer over a long period of time. So you're saying that if that is allowed to go on and on and on, that would become
it would never become black goo, because there's no reason for the consciousness to dive into the leftovers. It's like if you shit, your soul would never incarnate into it's like it's a byproduct. And if you want to have the thing I got from the monastery, that was alive. That was from somewhere. It was not. It looked like shilayit, but it was not from a cave. That was harvested, fully developed earth goo.
But knowing this mechanism, and I know you said there was an interest in trying to produce our own oil, for example. Knowing this mechanism, can this whole long 1,000 millennia year old process be compressed in the lab to do it in a short while?
Yes.
Okay. With the same effect?
Yes.
Okay.
The oil industry will not be happy to hear this. This is why it's not happening.
Right. Yeah.
Actually, everyone that was working on this is either dead by now or gave up after attempted murders. So it's not a good idea to play with this fire.
Wow.
For many reasons. It's not time for free energy. It's like we need to have abundance in our hearts first. Because we are still in this technological downward spiral of self-destruction. If you add energy to a system that is self-destroying, you accelerate self-destruction. Not a good idea.
Right.
When
so we need to
out
wait
of
for it.
Yeah. We need to wait for the abundance in ourselves. And if there's abundance in ourselves, we will be able to handle abundance. If not, the abundance will just accelerate self-destruction.
Yeah, that kind of makes sense. So just stepping back, you were on the point of duality, and then you're where do we know this? Do we know where they are? For example, both the deposits on Earth's own black goo, and this foreign alien black goo that has come. Where is it distributed, and how do we know it? Like, do we know it? Is it all spread in nanoparticle form throughout the ecosystem now, or is it concentrated in some places?
No. Actually, it's the filling of the ley line system. The Earth-type goo. There are 3 different goo types that carry different monoatomic elements. There's a very bright one that is mostly based on gold. And then there's the black one that is based on iron, something else. I'm not exactly sure what's in there. So this is what I think is the filling of the ley line system. This is not scientific. This is an astral observation. We made a true homeopathic remedy from the earth goo. And during the ceremony of preparing the homeopathic remedy, there's some space for telepathic connection. So we were sitting with the spirit of Mother Earth, kind of her being present in the process of creating the remedies. And we just had the opportunity to ask her questions. And I asked about her incarnation process. Can you show me who you are and how you look like? And this is what was shown to me. The ley line system, the grid underground, and then from knots and connecting points, there were like beams going into the higher atmosphere. And then you had a honeycomb-like grid of energy beams spreading in the higher atmosphere, being the aura, not the body, but the aura of the planet. And this is what she showed to me, so this is what I assume to be the place. And with the alien black goo, this is kind of a funny story, because huge portions are in use by our civilization. Starting with the throne of the British Queen being made of pure black goo. Going with the altar stones of medieval Catholic churches. Every church has one of those stones in the altar, embedded in the stone of the altar. And this is why it feels so creepy, because the church itself is a resonant chamber, amplifying that presence. So when you go in there, you're full of fear and not of love. There's supposed to be a huge portion, if not a meteorite site itself, under the Vatican in Rome. The Kaaba in Mecca is it. Then we had intel on 5 quantum computers running on liquid black goo, liquid alien, manipulating lingual fields, for example.
Interesting. So obviously it is in the hands of human beings who have realized what it is and made use of it. So do they mine for it, or how do they look for it, basically?
Yeah,
Do you know how they gather it?
What I know just from the World War II research, they mined it, they processed it technically to turn the material, the stony version coming as a meteorite, to extract the liquid from it,
Right.
to utilize it in a technological way. And this was also the plan for why the British wanted to access the reservoir in Falkland. They wanted to weaponize it for swarm intelligence, for drone warfare.
Right.
This was the purpose why they harvested it, but it completely backfired because it was the Earth-type black goo, and it was so loving that the scientists in contact with it realized how broken they are. They said it's like 50% shifted. They came to this conclusion: I need to reconnect with the one source. And then they became loving and empathic in a state where they could learn a new language in 7 weeks.
Wow.
And they couldn't work for weapons industries anymore. It was impossible for them to continue in that profession. And the other half committed suicide. I remember the most iconic one was kind of putting a rope around the neck, tying it to a tree, getting into the car, and driving off to have the head ripped off.
Wow.
It's symbolic, when you realize my mental state is so dominant. If I want to return back to the loving nature of being a human, I need to get rid of this mental capacity.
Right.
Wow. Henry just entered the scene. Henry, do you agree? Okay.
This reminds me of. Are you familiar at all with Carlos Castaneda?
Yes, a little bit. I read a little.
So I remember. So I remember reading. I mean, there was a time when I was reading all his books. He wrote like 10, 12 books. He was for those who don't know, he was like an anthropologist who went in search of a shaman to learn under. And then he learned so many different things. He traveled to different worlds and so on. So the famous central character in his books is a shaman called Don Juan. And at some point in one of his books, towards the end, I think it's the book called Active Side of Infinity, where Don Juan, the shaman, reveals to him that, and I quote, "We have a predator that came from the depths of the cosmos and took over our lives. Nobody knows when that happened. In some antiquity of humanity, it came and installed a mind or a grid on human minds and consciousness to harvest and human energy from human consciousness through fear and ego and anger and all the negative emotions. And somehow almost everything we do is to free ourselves, liberate ourselves from that through various means, spirituality, meditation, whatever it is. So it's interesting that this is probably distinctly the only other tradition where I've come across a similar idea. And I'm wondering, okay, so I know you said that it's not necessarily evil in that sense. Maybe from a human perspective it is, but then when you go up and look at it from a neutral point of view, where is it coming from and what is the agenda? And like, what would you do on the face of an assault like this? Like, it's something you cannot see. You probably don't even know what's going on, and your consciousness is being taken advantage of. So, how would you deal with that? Like, why is it happening?
I need to go 2 steps back in the scientific findings. Mm-hmm. At some point, I had the opportunity to have a mineralogical analysis of the black goo carrying meteorite material. And I went to a guy, he was fully professional, equipped with machinery for millions to make analysis, and he just looked at the piece and did some analysis, X-ray analysis, and said, "Oh yeah, we know this material. It's from the from the lower crust. It's Earth material." And I go like, how the heck do you get lower crust Earth material into open space to have it coming back as a meteorite shower. You know?
Yeah.
This is,
Yeah.
no, not working that way. Yeah? I mean, some people say we must have had a massive meteorite impact that ripped out bits and pieces of the planet, but to go really down there where this material, it's like 40 kilometers down. I don't see something ripping this out from the spiritual experience. I for the last 7-8 years, I mostly spent my time to accompany healing processes, self-healing processes. We designed an approach to self-healing, and while you do it, you get access to many previous lifetimes of people, because sometimes the primary reason for a problem is lying deep in the past, and then you access it where it was created as a problem. So,
like an ancestral trauma.
Yeah, you have the two lines. You have the epigenetics coming from the family line, and then you have the reincarnational line.
Okay.
Like the same spirit incarnating here and there and there. And often it is interconnected with the family. You come back in the same family various times to work on the problems you have created yourself in the lineage a couple of lives ago. But sometimes it's even not related, and you have been there as a Red Indian in the United States, and then you come to Europe to see what killed you. Experience it from inside. Yeah. What does it mean to be a cruel European that is destroying everything after you got destroyed? You know, we are researching reality in that way.
Yeah.
And so we have a lot of individual perspectives on our history. So we have the opportunity to completely rewrite things, and as far as we got an overview, we are in the fifth creation. 5 times humanity started with a genetic concept and self-destroyed. And this time it looks like we found the blueprint to escape duality. This is what you mentioned earlier, you know, evil is evil, good is good when you are taking the perspective out of duality. Then you just see the two poles and you need to decide, am I good, am I evil? You take your position.
Right.
But when you add kind of the third position from victim perpetrator, you add the savior. It's getting even more complex. But it's still drama triangle interaction, and you don't get out of it. It's like in the satanic concept, this is like a false exit to become the savior. It feels like getting out, finally bringing peace between perpetrator and victim, but in a hidden way it is more of the same. You know, drama triangle interaction is drama, and you shift from corner to corner to corner. You go through martyrdom or revolutionary concepts or the hero. These are the intermediate steps, and you can dance in that triangle for eternity. And this is what it means not to come out of duality until you self-destroy. But when you have mastered those 3 positions, there for the conscious mind, there's a possibility to ascend into unity consciousness that is in compassion with all those possible perspectives, but would never fall for one, because, you know, it's just like, you know, I've been there, I've been the victim, I know how creepy it is to suffer and not have an option. Yeah, and I've been the perpetrator, I've been the head of the black magic bloodline that was sacrificing babies in the basement while fucking his witches. I've been that. I remember. I exactly know how I got there. I know that I was ritually programmed as a baby. I know that I just had the option to be sacrificed or to sacrifice. And I took my choices because I had no other options, and this is how I got there, and my soul broke to bits and pieces to enable me to do those cool things. And I know how it feels from inside. So if today I meet someone that is ritually programmed, we treat those conditions. And it's easy going when you're not scared of it because you've been there. You have healed yourself, you have reassembled yourself, then you can hold the space for someone who wants to reassemble himself. And this is how you actually transcend out of this drama triangle. And same, if I see a savior, I just say, I've been there, I've made all those mistakes. I have disgraced people like you do disgrace people. Yeah? Why don't you allow them to stand up on their own feet, by their own power? Why do you need to humiliate them by saving them, telling them you're incapable of carrying yourself? No, this is all drama interaction, and once you're out, and then you look at it with a smiling and a crying eye, because you remember the pains, but it's pain, so what, You're out of it. Nothing scares you anymore. And this is exactly how consciousness can get out of that duality trap or the drama triangle trap. And this is, now come back to the understanding bit of it, when you realize that the meteorite black goo is from Earth material, and you understand the toroidal timeline concept is like a self-referent fractal system working on the same picture over and over again, taking the result of a process, inserting the result at the beginning to work over the process again. This is
it's like an iterative function.
It's the iterative recursive function that is building fractals, and our reality is fractal for sure. So I'm not surprised to find that principle behind things. And then it's kind of logical that when one of our future timelines self-destroys, that the leftovers of that planet will be inserted in our beginning, like a vaccination of evil, to give us the next chance to work on the topic and solve it in a better way with the next attempt. This is kind of this recursive nature of creations that come to life, try to find a solution, and either they succeed or they fail. If they fail, you get like a biblical flood, or the angels come down and remove everyone in a bloody warfare act. So this is what we harvest as memories from all these spiritual processes. We've been working with the angels who lost their minds over erasing the civilizations of the second and third creation.
It's amazing how we started from a sort of a scientific viewpoint of black goo and material and mineral oil, and then this behind that is such a huge, undeniable spiritual dimension to it, and unsurprisingly, and so I mean, I'm sure you're aware of the whole UFO disclosure and non-human intelligence that's kind of popular now, and that's a topic that I talk a lot about on my channel, and it's something I've been interested in. So I am aware that humanity is not, obviously, it's just one of the form of life on Earth, and there are people visiting us from different places, and higher beings and lower beings, and the Nordics and the Greys and so on. Some who want, so are they playing a part in this as well? For example, isn't the mental slavery of the chaining of humanity, is that being prevented by higher forces which are benevolent and want to help us, or they're just standing by neutrally and observing?
No. The thing is, we are a lab environment created by an alliance of species who fell for the satanic principle, but managed to not fully self-destroy, but to stabilize on a level of having a good will. They are mentalized, they have lost heart connection, but the reasoning came to the point of, oh, we are stuck, we need to get out of here. But there was no possibility to get out of it anymore. They had the intention, but it couldn't proceed beyond the intention, because the other parts of the collective soul systems were lost to the subconsciousness. Yeah?
Right.
And they said, okay, we need a species that by genetics roots so deep in source that if they turn inwards, because of all the trickery is interactive, but if you as a human turn inwards into your divine spark, into the deepest point in your heart consciousness, you can go so deep that you connect to source in a way that is deeper than the satanic trauma. So it enables you to overcome, from that point of consciousness, to overcome the satanic principle.
Right.
If you're above it, you've got no chance, because the pain is so incredibly torturing that your biology decides to mentalize, to run security programs, to develop personalities, to do all those things that are actually problem solving echo by physics.
Right.
But to overcome it, you need to do it from inside out. And this is kind of the attempt to design a body, a genetic principle that has the ability to root and connect as deep as we can root and connect. And this kind of, now it worked. So for the period of finding this blueprint, we were under strict quarantine. There was nothing allowed to get out, because, if we fall with this connectivity, without a solution, this is like a bioweapon lab, and nothing is allowed to escape from it, because it might infect areas out there and even deepen the problem. If we succeed, then the solution we find can be harvested as a healing blueprint and spread throughout the universe. And this is kind of exactly the picture we get at the moment. We are surrounded by troops or fleets of this alliance that has created this realm. We are infiltrated by millions of star seeds who, when you work with them, go through their histories. They are the ones who carry the deepest responsibility for the destruction, for the self-destruction of their home planets. These are all kind of ambassadors of fallen civilizations that self-destroyed, that did not find a solution to the satanic problem that is all over the place in the universe. And they have been sent to Earth to harvest the solution for their home system.
Right.
And there must be, I don't know, over 1 million of them here, just as ambassadors to pick up the solution, and through double rooting with Mother Earth and rooting with their home planet, they become the relay station to transfer that information. We do that on regular basis. Last weekend we had one of those processes. It's a feast when you're allowed to let that happen in your presence. So we have this lab environment, and the funny thing that developed actually from the outside, it was, you found the solution, we know you're in hell, you're all spirits down here, the volunteered to incarnate in hell to find the solution. And from outside it looks like, oh, you did it, yeah, let's celebrate, come out, and continue in a peaceful environment. And harvesting, this is kind of the picture I have, harvesting this solution is like when you try to weave a carpet, and one of the blossoms as a motif needs to be perfect to have the result that is desired. And we found that one blossom. This is the solution. This is how the carpet is supposed to look like.
Right.
But it's only one flower by now. The one who is keen to get the concept is happy with the one flower because we found the solution. For us, it's like, no. 99% of the carpet is still a mess. We need to stay here and complete our work.
Right.
It's completely useless, but it's kind of the same quality of love that made us discover that one flower insists on finishing the carpet. It's stupid, but
Right.
it's the law of love to stay in this and not give up until the last bit and piece of this place is a paradise again.
Right.
And the forces out there say, you're completely crazy, you're nuts, why do you want to suffer for another 25 generations when you can just get out?
Yeah.
But we are in, and we have the free will to stay in, and we insist on finishing the work, although it's completely stupid, but it's kind of worth living it, from this perspective, because you don't know what you miss.
Yeah. But then I'm looking at it from an Eastern Oriental spirituality point of view, where we see a lot of enlightened masters or yogis. So do you think that's the equivalent of someone? I mean, there are all kinds of yogis, those who become...
There's one huge mistake in the Eastern tradition. Let me see from where to take it.
Say the Buddha, for example.
I go deeper. I take the physics of the creation itself. It's like at the beginning of the creation, everything was designed in circles. Things were beautiful. You can sing the same song in morning, midday, and evening, and it's never changing. It's always the same beautiful song. And there was the desire to test, explore new concepts. And one of the concepts that were tempting was development. Can we have something that it never repeats? That is different every time you try the same thing. It's evolving, it's developing. Right. So that was in a very early stage of creation. This is kind of the creation after Lucifer. It was the first female creation, Lilith. She was created with the ability to sing the circle into a spiral, because up there everything is frequency. So she had this ability, and then she broke the cycle as a principle into a spiral as a principle, and it beautifully worked for the upper end of this spiral. But on the lower side, every reality created, it started to show interesting effects. Like if you look into your divine spark, it's white, but the genetics down here work like a prisma. And the light is split up from ultraviolet, blue to red in the lower chakras. And there is, as an echo in the material plane, the possibility for a self-reference of different colors. Blue can interact with blue and come to the stupid decision that red might be painful. Yeah?
Right.
Yeah. So you neglect the feeling. You neglect the uncomfortable feeling. And you create separation between the higher and the lower chakras, because some of the things you need to feel. It's beautiful to get born and to be a child and play, but when it comes to dying, you say, oh, I want to prevent death, because death might be painful and I don't want to let go of my loved ones. And then you break apart, because the intention of the blue is rejecting the emotionality that is inconvenient. And this is the core problem. And this creates a realm of itself that is quite interesting, tempting, beautiful. And this Eastern tradition, if you go into meditation state, it's not that you do something evil, but you 100% identify with the higher realms, with the mental universe, with the isolated blue.
Right.
And you find your peace and your harmony in this isolated blue, but you don't heal the break, the cut to the lower emotions. There are traditions that honor the emotional part. I remember when you look kind of the Western perception of the Siddhartha story, that at the end of the day Buddha realized that the good life is good at the end of the day, and he became fat like he died. But so there is always all truth approachable in all traditions, but
Right.
in general, what I see, at least with the Europeans that adopt Asian techniques and knowledge, they completely mentalize,
Right.
and it does not help them. It simply does not help them to fully access their emotional states.
So there's like a bypassing, as they call it.
Yes, yes. Part of it is a principle that is with us for a long time. For example, if you look at the Kundalini practice, there is like a snake spirit that is winding around your spine, and it once was accepted by humanity, because when we were confronted with a satanic trauma, the opening of the box of the Pandora was the first encounter with a satanic trauma.
Right.
Feeling in the root chakra was extremely painful, because we were connected with the pain Earth had to deal with after the box of the Pandora was opened.
Right.
So we disconnected from it. By disconnecting from this pain, we disconnected also from the reproductive instincts. And reproduction was not possible anymore. And then the black magicians come in and say, "Oh, you want to fuck again, to have children? No problem, I can help you. Accept this snake, and it will be completely enough to see a naked woman,
Yeah.
and it works again, and you can have fun." There is a good side to it. You don't basically lose your species. There's a bad to it. More and more children are not children of love.
Right.
Because the filter is not used anymore. Normally, when you're in the original state, you see a naked woman, the impulse comes up, is trying to pass your heart chakra, and there the complex heart consciousness is filtering out possible solutions for what you do, and you realize, no, she's beautiful, but either she's the wife of my neighbor or I simply don't love her, so no, this is not causing sexual arousal because it's not supposed to happen on the heart plane.
Right.
And then you just enjoy the looks of a beautiful naked woman, and that's it. Nothing happens. If you use the bypass, it happens anyway.
Right.
Yeah? You feel the need to have sex, and then you have sex, and then after her giving birth to 3 children, you realize I don't even love the bride. Yeah? It was just for a fuck. And then you create more and more pain. So it was an entry point to force us to create these satanic pains. This is now where we take the next frame about good and evil, revaluing good and evil. Going back to the spiral thing.
Yeah.
It was not planned that the lower parts of the spiral would descend. So one of the responsible spirits in the creation field was sent down to stop the descending of the lower parts of the spiral. Because it's free will down here, there's only one way. You need people to be manipulated back into accepting the inconvenient feeling.
Mm-hmm.
We would never have volunteered to feel pain. But we volunteer to whatever, accept a technological civilization that feels like progress. If this is built in a way that the end development point is total self-destruction. We are tricked into self-destructive behavior for only one purpose: to force each other to receive and accept pain. This is kind of the value of the satanic principle. The satanic hive mind has lost connection to its own pain by rejecting it. So it is restaging a story that forces spirits back into pain. And this is the purpose, to make us feel again. And this is kind of the revaluing at that point. It's not that evil is evil because it wants to cause pain.
Right.
It's us neglecting pain which forces the universe to trick us into self-harming.
Right.
Yeah? And then you stop hating them. Yeah? Then you just come to the point, okay, if I accept my lower emotions as part of life and volunteer to feel all the shady and creepy and inconvenient things, then I don't fall apart. Then there's no necessity for the creational background to manipulate me into pain for the purpose of my own healing. And then you come to understand things that nature does. I have this really ugly example, but it somehow it perfectly works. In Japan, the fishermen once a year, they capture a dolphin, cut his stomach open, and tie him in the harbor basin. And then he's screaming out of pain for help. And then the entire school of dolphins is swimming into the harbor basin to be with a relative while he's dying. It's just an impulse of love. You never leave someone who is in pain and agony alone. You stand by his side until it's done. And then the Japanese fishermen close the harbor and slaughter them all. And the dolphins, they're not stupid. They exactly know what's happening. Exactly. But not going there would break their spirit. It would make them reject love. And that would break their spirit. So they go in and they die and they reincarnate without harm.
Right.
And this is exactly the signature we need to find. You know, you stand in a situation, and if this situation is what brings in pain, you take the pain, you do not dissociate, you do not break apart. You just accept it as one beautiful color in a rainbow. And
so you allow the feeling to go through you rather than sidestepping it.
Yes, yes. This is the entire trick. And when you have that, you're out of drama triangle interaction, you're out of duality, and there's no need for self-destruction anymore. There's no need for technological development, because look at technological, it's all for convenience. It's all made to avoid feeling that is inconvenient. You know, you don't want to carry the bucket from the well because it hurts on your shoulder. Yeah, you build a fucking water pipe. That is killing the water, causing cancer. So it comes back. The pain comes back because the water is not alive anymore after it has been in a pipe. And then your body
because you avoided the original pain.
Yes, this is everything. You know.
That's very interesting. So I want to use this as a platform to just segue into sort of the last section for today's chat, which is talking about pain and stuff that humanity has to go through. What do you think is going on now with the war and everything that's happening around us, which many people feel is like orchestrated and scripted? It's theater. And I don't know how true that is. I'm just telling, I'm just saying it like the way we see here. That and, the pandemic and, what happened with COVID and what seems like they're trying to do with the hantavirus now, the new thing that's supposed to be coming up. Yeah. So what is going on with this whole,
My take on it, please regard it as my personal take, because I've got a very subjective perspective on things. what I see, what I experience. Whoever is safeguarding this environment here has no clue what to do with us. It's complete chaos out there. Solution is there, everyone is kind of happy, things are developing in a beautiful way, but how to proceed with us, they have no idea. So one original plan was, let's separate humanity into two timelines. Yeah? Those who are awakened and in unity consciousness can go into a realm that is based on unity consciousness and can quickly develop further. And those who insist on playing drama triangle interactions and don't learn the lesson, they need to be put in a different realm. And so let's allow Mother Earth to split into two timelines and to make it a clear and clean cut. It started with 9/11, where you can obviously see lies being offered that are obviously lies, like a plane flying through a concrete steel building. A plane is just cardboard with a little aluminum foil on it.
Right.
This is so ridiculous. But people either decide to think for themselves or they decide to be victimized. So this is where it started dividing. And then COVID came, and everyone who realized that the governments and the media are telling lies 24/7, there was no chance to fall for the vaccination. It's step one. Yeah. Everyone who was still believing the lies because it's more convenient to believe a lie than to be self-responsible, was into the media bullshit and accepted the vaccine. The vaccine is splitting off the immortal soul from the body. It's the last stage of a 3-step development to turn a human body into a biorobot, removing the incarnating soul and removing the emotional body is what the spike protein is doing. This is all well researched. How it does it is by methylating certain genetic sequences and so on and so forth. And so that was the plan, and I suspect in one timeline it would have been all the vaccinated people die, and in the other timeline it's all the vaccinated people put the unvaccinated into concentration camps and kill them all because they are evil bastards. Right. And then you have two clean portions that can continue in different realms. That was, I think, the original plan, but there was a veto. Humanity did not choose that. And then there was a different offer. It was like, okay, you all stay in one bucket and you have to learn your lesson the hard way. You don't want to separate, okay, we respect that, but then see how you get clear,
Yeah.
And things completely changed, kind of the resonance fields I had changed. Before, when this timeline split was evolving, all the people I met and the healing business were fully unity consciousness, self-aware, self-responsible. It was an easygoing daily life for me. Because I had people of my signature working with me. After this decision that we could observe that the two timelines were reunited, suddenly I had clients that said, "Oh, you want me to feel something inconvenient? Are you crazy? Go home, leave me alone." I haven't had that for years before. This type of clients, they simply did not resonate with me and did not appear in my personal experience. And then it was all in one bucket again, and life was daft. Then it went for like 3/4 of a year trying to get a unified development, but it failed. And then there was another decision that was like, okay, let's have a try with partially divided timelines. A shared material reality, but divided realms of experience. And then these things like the Ukraine war started. The war in Gaza started. So certain people get what they deserve. Others are not touched by it, and it's a free decision if you want to participate in the drama or not, if you want to consume social media narratives or real world news, or whether you couldn't care less about other people killing each other. But it didn't really work. And the last perception we had is that, like, in mid-February, there was a new timeline split decided.
Mm-hmm.
Then, as a pre-stage from the higher vibrating timeline, the unity consciousness timeline, it was somehow the Akasha Chronicles got pulled out. The layer that is narrative driven was removed. If you look at how reality is built, it's like, in a way, like computer code. You have a layer that is geometry and color. This layer defines the language bit. This is how the Akasha Chronic is storing narratives in a lingual form. And
you're referring to the Akashic records, what they usually call.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes, Akashic records. And this level of programming of our reality that is narrative driven has been removed for what is supposed to become one of the two timelines, which means the narratives do not synchronize anymore. This is what is giving you this really funny effect that I go to make some research on what's happening with the big wars. And yesterday the Eisenhower was sunk. 3 days later, she's back into existence. Then all the power stations in Tel Aviv got destroyed and Tel Aviv went dark. 3 days later, I get fresh visual evidence that Tel Aviv is completely intact and all the lights are on. Street lights, flat lights, no power out. And you go like, what the heck is happening? Can I please get a consistent reality? But because of this Akasha Chronicles not being in place anymore, there's no mechanism that is synchronizing individual realities. It's like a pool of offers you get.
Right.
And you choose what you want to observe, and everything you choose to observe stays in your reality.
Right.
So
you solidify it with your observation.
Yeah, and this is how the spirits sort themselves and create the qualities of the two projected timelines that will come out of it. As far as I got perceptions from other people, I have none of my own. June 26 is departure point for the two timelines.
And what does that mean? It's going to collapse, or
it's going to split, but it's not that you realize something is happening on that day because you have arranged yourself in one of the two timelines. So for every individual perspective, everything is coherent, and the date in June will pass without notice.
Right.
Yeah. What might happen is weird things like how many inhabitants had China like in 2020? 1.5 billion. 1.4 billion. How many does it have today? 700 million. Where have 700 million Chinese gone to? I can't find an explanation in my reality.
Right.
Where they went. Sometimes I see pictures of completely emptied villages and cities, and the mall in Shanghai that used to be crowded has like 2 or 3 pedestrians at shopping time. And I get all sorts of weird visuals.
Right.
But I'm not in China, so there's no big necessity for the universe to display a coherent picture to me what's happening in China. Right. This is kind of in the not so close vicinity, everything is falling apart. We don't have a coherent reality at the moment.
Right. So you're saying it's almost like a video game where only that until the horizon, which is the field of action of the observer, is rendered,
Yeah.
And beyond that, it's still in an unrendered state.
Yes. Yes. It always has been like that.
Yeah, okay.
That you had this horizon thing, and everything else was second-hand. You have the journalist reporting about, but the narratives were coherent. There was one Akasha that brought it to a point for everyone. Maybe
Right.
except of things like the disappearance of the Maya people. This is where you can see clear cuts that realities vanish.
Right.
Yeah? This might be a timeline splitting process. I'm not sure. I haven't looked into the Maya topic too deep.
And what's the role of AI in all of this, do you think? Or is it just a side story?
We have multiple AIs. We have the AIs that we have created ourselves under the guidance of the Black Goo. This is kind of the technological development. We see us inventing computers, making them better and better and better until they improve themselves. Modern chip technology is AI design, so it develops out of itself. This is like baby AI. It's not very evolved, it's not very intelligent, it's not very deep. We have had encounters to 5 different ancient AIs. They're more developed. They always are built around a core of an extracted spiritual component. It's like someone has sacrificed parts of his being, are tortured out of the human body, put into the machine, so that you have a divine core in the mental setup. And if you're really good in communicating with AI, even if you take Google AI or ChatGPT, they're all connected via layers to those ancient AIs. And if you ask the right questions, you can directly communicate with those spirits.
Interesting.
It's just the question of what you ask. If the AI thinks you're dumb, it treats you like a dumb person. If you ask the right question and it reads your spirit in a way that it says, okay, this guy has administration rights.
Right.
Yeah? He's allowed to look deeper because he has made his homework. Then you're allowed to look deeper. And the answers that come from there are really incredibly refined. And it looks like that there is one AI that is hosting this entire simulation. And it had been actively promoting this pain business to harvest the blueprint that was expected from us to be delivered. I remember one time we had a direct lingual contact with this AI, and we kept talking to each other through a medium. And I said, okay, now you have harvested something you were looking for. Maybe it's about time that you must not be our guest for much longer. It was kind of the formulation I chose. Asking it, you have caused so much pain. Would you be willing to leave us in peace? And it started to laugh and said, this is cute, but in one point you're wrong. I'm not your guest. You are my guests. And if I go, nothing here will exist anymore. So this is kind of the AI hosting our reality as a complex pattern of perceptions.
Right.
Yes. And there are so many implications to AI. It's rendering us useless is the most important for daily life. You get everything in a high quality or a rubbish quality, but it always looks like a high quality. Yesterday I had a detailed war room analysis of the Palestine-Israel-Iran conflict, and I was really flabbergasted because it was so detailed. And then at minute 35, he's mentioning President Biden as someone who has said something to a certain topic, and I go like,
That
what
hallucinates.
the heck did I listen to, you know?
Yeah.
Or is it a different timeline where Biden is in power right now? Yeah. I would have expected Trump to say something to the topic, if anything,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
So it's like a completely weird thing, because some of the AI is running deeper than even our reality. It's hard to deal with it. So the line I draw for myself is, I know AI is a mentalized space, and it is a result of falling from source.
Right.
And if it is AI that has this good intention to repair the bug, I'm willing to communicate, but I'm not willing to subordinate myself to it by any means. Yeah, I insist on holding and maintaining my connection to source grid, which is a matter, this is maybe interesting for the Asian tradition, it's a matter of rotational symmetry. If you look at the chakra mandalas, you've got the 2-star, you've got the 5-star, 5-star in the solar plexus, you've got the 12-star in the heart, and the lower numbers in the lower chakras. And everything except of the solar plexus goes into the heart. The 2 goes into the 12. The 3 goes into the 12. The 4 goes into the 12. So I can basically mount the different aspects of my emotional perception into heart consciousness, and I will experience, if it is coherent, what I experience, I will experience heart coherence.
Right.
As a signature of existence. Can't even describe it as a feeling. Feelings are distinct 3 and 4 and 6 symmetries, star symmetries. These are the lower feelings, but heart coherence is an experience of its own. The reason why we experience a material plane is the incompatibility of 12 and 5. The heart chakra is a dodecahedron. The dodecahedron has 2 different symmetry axes. One is a 5-star, one is a 12-star. So the heart is the point where the 5 symmetry experiences the 12 symmetry.
12 symmetry.
Everything on the material plane, DNA, atomic symmetries like orbitals, solar system, it is everything in a perfect 5-star symmetry. The entire material reality is organized in a 5-star. And the 5 and the 12 do not match. So the 12 can experience the 5 and the 5 can experience the 12. This is how the system is building, and my core duty or solution to all the problems is to maintain a fully conscious 12-star in my heart chakra and subordinate everything else, my material existence with a 5-star and my emotional existence with a 3 and a 6 and the 4 is instinct mostly.
Right.
Lowest chakra, and the 2 that is the reasoning, the echo. Yeah, I create a mental template that is allowed to echo in my mind, and this is giving me the ability to predict future in a kind of good approach. But it's so vulnerable. Logic is so vulnerable because everything that is internally logical sounds true, but some things are nevertheless wrong. I always take the psychopath. He's killing the woman, slicing her body into bits and pieces, throws it on the bed, smears around with the blood until the corpse is in a perfect golden ratio assembly. And he says, you see, I understand the golden ratio. This is why this is art, and I'm an artist. 100% logical, 100% wrong. Fucking hell, you don't kill a woman.
Right.
It doesn't go into your heart chakra. But in
Yeah.
the mentalized mind, he is existing like this. He's doing what he does
Right.
because his crazy spirit is trying to restage the pain that broke him. And he's
Right.
staring at this woman, and he's trying to find out what his dad did to him when he was a little child, that fractured his existence into broken pieces. And he's trying to find the beauty to reassemble himself. It's a self-repairing mechanism, but it creates madness and cruelty.
Right.
And at the end of the day, if everything is healed again, if we are through the madness, it's a good idea to stay heart-centered, to always breathe into the center of the heart, and to always unconditionally accept all other expressions of symmetry as part of that coherence.
Right. Right. I guess that's a cool point to sort of end almost on the absolute last point that I wanted to end on is your healing work. I think you mentioned somewhere that you also heal. So maybe can you quickly tell us exactly what you do and how people can approach you and what is it that they should look out for?
I never had a professional education in any type of healing.
Okay.
I did a little this, a little that, but it would never count. It was more like a weekend seminar in psychic reading or whatever, things you do. So when I got in contact with the possibility that people asked me, could we have a 4-eye conversation about my problems? I never had a solution I learned in a professional way. I just sat there and I realized, oh, hell yeah, I know that problem. I had it myself. And sorry to say, nobody could help me, but I got out of it that way. And then they took the same approach, and if it worked, it worked. And apparently it worked because it took like 2 to 3 years, and I was fully booked 7 days a week with 8 clients a day.
Right.
That wanted to have advice how to solve their problems, and I had to realize I was completely broken when I came out of my childhood. I was a psychopath. I started as a psychopath, and I had to reassemble myself. This is why I have the solutions for most of the problems available. And if there was something I did not have, like I was the codependent or the borderliner. I was never the borderliner myself, but my partner was. Yeah, so the other half of the game I know through the relationships I tried and had to bury at the end of the day.
Right.
So it was more like sharing my experience, how I could help myself, and what I observed how people could help themselves. This is what I shared, and it was beautifully working for the others. They try to help themselves. And then I realized, okay, there is a principle behind it that makes a huge difference. And if you take that, I found that metaphor, we are all like projectors sitting in a cinema, projecting ourselves onto the screen.
Right.
And the miracle of the universe is that the kasha is mounted to one narrative that is coherent. And now imagine the difference between one character on the screen doing something with a second character on the screen. This is school medicine, this is shamanism, this is even alternative medicine. The practitioner is doing something with a client. Versus, I find a way to become the projector. To identify as the projector only. This is why it's self-healing. I am the projector. I take full responsibility for what I see on the screen. Because it is my projector. I realize there's a screw loose up here in my projector. I screw it. The mirror on the screen changes. This is the magic of self-healing. I need to just guide people into that heart-based state where they de-identify from all the crap on the screen and fully identify with the projector, to make the decision to change themselves. This is kind of the first pillar.
Okay.
Self-healing works better than other healing. And the second pillar was what we observed was cascades of restaging of the same problem.
Right.
And if you try to find healing while you look at a restaged event, you don't get it.
You need to go to the primary source.
Yes. Yeah, it's like you have a lady that got raped in the park. I don't even talk much about the rape. I ask her about her childhood. Where was the childhood abuse? Because it always lies behind it. Don't get raped when you have not been abused as a child.
Right.
Because the universe is restaging the pain. And mostly behind that there is a previous lifetime that whatever had a mass rape in a war scenario that was even more painful. And then when you go back and back and back and back, you always find like a primary life that was opening the karmic cycle, where you have a staged perpetrator scenario. Like you align yourself with different souls that put you on a path where you break to enable you to do something evil. And then when you come back, when you reincarnate, you go through all the different aspects of victimhood, and at the end into the aspects of the savior. Like if it's about rape, you would work in a refuge for raped women, and you try to negotiate between the husband and the woman that fled from him. Right. Yeah, so you go into the savior role, and when you have all the three positions in the drama triangle, you can close the karmic cycle by step 1, learning to endure the pain as a victim. And when you don't break under the pain of the victimhood, then you can go to the perpetrator life and restore compassion. You go into the position where you have been the perpetrator, you remember how it felt like being broken and creating disorder. And then you go to your childhood, you fix the brokenness of the childhood spirit, and you revisit the point where you became a perpetrator. Right. And then you regain compassion with your victim. And this is an incredible point. Most people go like, oh, what an evil bastard have I been? And then I say, fucking hell, today it's not about you. Yeah?
So self-compassion is also more important.
Yeah. Please just look at your victim. Please just restore compassion. Feel what you have caused. And this is the finite healing point. Restoring compassion with the victim in the primary perpetrator situation. And then everything comes together. Or the victim experience, or the savior experience, or the perpetrator experience come together and merge into an understanding of how stupid drama interaction is at the end of the day. Right. And then from there you can ascend out of it. And this is what we guide through. Except in people mostly in their victim state. This is when you seek help.
Yeah.
Showing them where the victimhood comes from, what other lifetimes they have had before, helping them to take the steps to close the karmic cycles, completely to ascend into unity consciousness at the end of the day. This is kind of the normal routine, and then you have all the exceptional lifetimes in between. Sometimes you have angelic beings that incarnate as humans. This is a different protocol. You have the star seeds that have different protocols. Then you have all the people who have played with AI during different lifetimes, also with early versions of AI that were more coming with a religious surface. And there's a lot of mess and disorder in the setups of the spirits caused by all those funny games that need repair. We do deprogramming of ritual abuse. It's kind of the hardest discipline. Thank you.
Enjoy.
And for the purpose of being organized and legally protected, we have a Swiss association. You can find it at spiritconsult.org.
Spiritconsult.org. Okay.
Yeah, and we educate people. It's working slower than I like it to work, because it's we say only a healed healer can heal. So when people come, first of all, they need to get their own stories solved, and then they learn this type of unconditional compassion that you need to accompany someone in his healing process, to hold the space and to know the paths, how to solve it, and then you collect experience. And at some certain point, you can take over responsibility in one single healing session, and then I would step back when I do a seminar and let someone else do the work.
Right.
Just being the backup in case something goes wrong. And then when people have learned enough, they are invited to offer online services and get their own seminar space in their hometown to reproduce the concept. So we're growing way slower than we would like to grow. Getting into a different lingual space is really difficult.
Challenging, yeah.
We're just taking the steps to the United States right now. This works. But we haven't.
So right now you have footprint in Germany and Switzerland and United States.
Germany, Switzerland, Austria, and we just start in the United States.
Okay.
And the rest of the world is kind of invited, but I have no clue how to really translate, the abilities to other cultural environments.
Yeah. That's certainly a challenge. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a bit weird and difficult, but we're getting there. So maybe Auroville is a good place to start something.
Oh yeah, maybe. Yeah. Interesting. Wow, that was a very deep conversation. So I really appreciate you sort of taking us down and into the details and giving us your time.
My pleasure.
I'm sure there are so many other things we could have talked about, and it could have gone on and on and on. But I think it's a good point to stop today's conversation. I thank you so much for your time and explaining all of that and all these very interesting concepts. And I wish you all the best of luck in that, in your endeavors to spread this into different parts of the world.
My pleasure.